Hello. In today's video, I wanted to show how you can make your own logo for free using AI. So say you have a hot sauce brand or really anything, a home brewing company you have, and you want to just create something to, give you a little style, make yourself look more official. Here's how you can do it for free. Now, if you wanted to learn more how all this stuff works, I'd really recommend you read this guy, Max Wolf. He has a blog post about this, and he's a data scientist over at BuzzFeed. It's really good, really tells you how everything works and what you can do, how to change it, and how to improve on things. Anyways, let's just dive right in. This is Google Colab. If you don't know what coding is, it's like an environment or a place where you can run code, and you don't need to install libraries on your own. So it's a free server from Google that can run this stuff. That's sort of the Cliff Notes version. Now I've already gone through and run this stuff. You just press this play button here on each individual cell. It's like a block, if you will. So do these things that someone already coded, and then you'll be set. Now if you run through this, it's more coding stuff. Don't worry about it. It's pretty well documented. It tells you this is installing things. Just follow the defaults here. Select a model to download. And then here's the good part. So you can just say what you want the model to do. And how it works is you say, I want an image that is this. So I say, I want a flannel panda craft beer logo. And this is going to go in and try to generate a bunch of images. Also, what happens is the computer generates some random numbers to do certain steps of the process. So if you put in the seed value here, you'll get the exact same output that I did. So it's great if you found a design you like and you want to sort of rerun it later or tweak it over time. Just save the seed that's run. So here we go. I already ran this. It's kind of slow, but that's because there's a lot of intense stuff happening here. And you can see that it output the seed that I'm using in the text. This is what you want to save if you're doing this. And just let it run. And you'll see as it tries to come up with an image, sort of the computer evolving over time. You can actually make a video about this too. It's pretty cool. You just combine all these frames, they're called, all these images, and you'll have a nice video of the computer thinking over time. Now with this logo, you can see it's a little busy. It's not sort of really fleshed out here. So just scrolling down. But there's this cool concept of a panda on top of sort of a beer mug, more of a, what is it, like a 16-ounce pint? Or I don't know the name of it. But, it's something beer related. And it's kind of cool. But when I looked at this one, I actually liked farther back, as the computer is a little bit more abstract, not everything was flushed in yet. You can see this cool design of sort of a panda with like a hat. And I think if you were a graphic designer, you could take this, put this little teal hat on and sort of make it backwards, maybe give him a beard if you want, play with that. You can see the computer is actually turning this beard into a beer bottle over time. That's what it sort of found. So I think this is a cool concept. I'll show you another concept that we'll work with. Unfortunately, I didn't save my random number to generate it, but we'll still work with that one. That's sort of my favorite logo yet. But again, you could take this, save one of these images, just right click, save image as, and then you can use it in the next steps that we'll go through. But yeah, that's essentially it. You just run, you wait. Again, this takes quite a bit of time. This has been running, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes now. Let things run, try out new phrases. You could say like in the style of Salvador Dali, and the computer will kind of know what that is. Vincent van Gogh, Starry Night, those are things that, behind the scenes, this was trained with a huge database of art and descriptions about that art. So if you tell it a phrase, it's going to try to find something like that and then sort of push it into the text you're looking for. And it's super cool, I think. So I'll show you a couple of my examples that I did. This was a flannel cartoon guy. It's this interesting like mouse that looks like he's almost eating something as the video plays. And you can see his head. So if you wanted to create something, with this mouse, you can use image editing software to sort of pull it out. Or you can say, this is a little creepy, this is a little weird, I don't want to deal with this. Fine, that's just one example. Here was a flannel guy logo that's kind of like a newspaper almost. And as this evolved, I thought it looked pretty cool. But this is, that one. Here's that craft beer logo I mentioned earlier. And here's a really cool one. I thought the hipster logo. It looks like almost like a gamer tag or something, but I really like the colors that the computer came up with, and it's pretty easy to pull this bear out of the image and make a logo. So here's just some advice. Look at this over time as you play with things. Again, check out Max Wolf. He has a lot of great ideas on how to use this tool more. Next up, I did say you don't know any coding. You really don't. And this coding doesn't do that well, but I will show it to people who like coding and want to automate some of this process. However, you can also use this tool called GIMP to work with selecting the image and isolating it out. And that's probably going to be your best bang for your buck, but you can use coding very simply. There's an example here, how to take this 300 pixel by 300 pixel image and upsample it to, higher resolutions. So if you need something to put on a poster, put on a beer mug or something, or a beer bottle, you can take this and you can just tell it, hey, I want it to look like this, and it's going to try to fill in the dots, and it does a very good job. The computer has a good algorithm there. Otherwise, just look up tools called upsamplers on the internet, and you can find one to do it for you. Anyways, coding people, let's dive in. I'll put a checkpoint in the video that you can just click ahead to skip this if you don't like this part. So here we're using OpenCV to load the image, and this is one I generated before. It's this cool panda with like a wizard hat and a beer bottle coming out. So I really like the concept there. This has been described as lily pads to me by some people. Also looks like sort of a laurel, which I thought was an interesting concept. And I like the colors. I like the idea of like the panda with that beer bottle coming up. It looks pretty natural to me. So yeah, that's how you show the image in Jupyter. And here is how you can take that image and sort of isolate the color. So say we wanted to simplify this to like a black and white version, so we don't need to use as many colors. If you're putting a logo on something like a t-shirt, you might get charged per color because that is more expensive to do, depending on the printing process. So here we go. This is just going to show you what these different thresholds do. You can play with these values here in the threshold to say anything lower than 127 in terms of red, green, blue space is going to be not removed or turned to black, and then the other side is turned to black. So you can see that adaptive mean, global thresholding, and Gaussian all sort of pull out the image kind of cool. I really do like how the adaptive mean looks. It's sort of like a rounded image, and it's a little bit more playful than the other one. So I think it's kind of cool. But for our purposes, we're just going to work with this thresholding version. I think it also does a pretty neat job. So here we go. This is that thresholding code. And I set the threshold a little bit lower to 100 instead of 127. There's 255 bits, or not bits, 255 digits of complexity, or intensity in these pixels when we have it in grayscale form. And 100 is a little bit less than half, and it seemed to give me better results. And what we're trying to do here is isolate the colors that we want to extract, and then save the rest, or make the rest sort of go away to simplify the colors. So here we go, run this. Notice there's like a little bit of a pixel here. So we can do this sort of blurring operation. It's called median blur. We'll take things around it and grab sort of the median value. So if there's two filled in and one not filled in, the median of that is filled in, and it'll smooth those things out. So that's what the 3 means. It's 3 pixels wide. It always has to be an odd number. And yeah, so that pixel is gone. It's a little bit more smooth. I kind of like that more. And then we can take this and just remove all the other colors. So unfortunately, we did lose that cool border. You notice in the image before, we had this like, I don't know, almost like Teletubby sun-esque. It's hard to describe, but it's kind of a cool framing of it to make it go well with logos and circular formats. But, that's okay, at least for this step. I'll show you how to keep that later on using GIMP, the photo editing software. But here we go, we processed it with Python. Now we can just clear out the borders. So from here down, we're gonna sort of make that go to white. Same with the top there. And now we've got a pretty processed image. It's a little bit more simplistic, but it's sort of the raw concept of the logo. You know what, that blur could be a little aggressive. I might turn that off, actually. Let's do that again. And I like the look of the green a little bit more here, and it could be easier to touch this up in GIMP after the fact. Also using Python, there's this method called grab cut you can use. And it's kind of like the fuzzy select tool, which I'll show later if you haven't heard of it. But it lets you say, hey, I think there's something here that's different than the others. Can you please grab it for me? And it'll try to do some algorithms to sort of pick out the colors that are all connected. And it works decently well, but it doesn't do a good job. There's sort of this gap in between the laurels that are cupped. And again, what we're trying to do here is get the transparency out. We want to have just our logo and then be able to put it on a t-shirt like this. So it's decent, but really computers doing all the post-processing. There's not much you can do when it doesn't get it right. It's kind of inflexible. That's why I would recommend using something like GIMP or Photoshop to edit these images. Now, the one thing the computer is very good at is upsampling. So that's where you take some model to fill in the blanks on pixels. You say, I want this to be 4 times larger. So I'm loading this EDSR model here. You can learn about it here at Learn OpenCV. Great tutorial on pros and cons of upsampling algorithms. And out of the box, this just works great. Here's just a simply resized version, and here's the upscaled. You can see those blanks are pretty well filled in. It's a little less blurry, and it looks pretty nice, I'd say. And now that we got our image, we can apply this mask here based on pixel intensity being pretty close to white. Anything very close to white is what this statement is saying, and make it transparent. That's how you do that with OpenCV. And I've just written that to this file here. Now, even still, we did just do all that, but I really did like the color version of the image. I want to show you what that looks like with the upsampling code. So we'll see how that does, and then we can use GIMP to touch it up and make a proper logo. You can see the resized version. There's this big blur in here. And if you look at the upscaled, it looks so much better. So yeah, the computer's great at this. If you don't know coding, you should be able to find something like this on the internet. Otherwise, I try to make the install steps very, very simple for this project. So you could take a stab at just running, this code here. And by all means, let me know if you run into a problem, and I will help you out. The last step of this logo design was actually editing it in GIMP. Really, computers do a pretty good job, but beyond the upsampling, it's a little tougher to really fine-tune an image. So what I did is I followed a tutorial. Let me find it here. This guy shows you how to do different tools on isolating the subject of the image from the background. So some tricks on how to use the fuzzy select method. And I just followed that, and I was able to just go in just like this. I got the fuzzy select set up. I opened my image, and then you can see it's selected. Just press delete. And there's a few other steps you have to do. I'll show you. You're supposed to add an alpha channel. When you do delete, it goes to transparent. That's what alpha means. And just by selecting and then using the airbrush tool to sort of add in color back, you can do a great job isolating this image. Again, he just sort of shows you how you click. If you move up or down, it'll select more things. And you just do that a few times throughout the image, and it gets easier, it gets faster as you learn the shortcuts. And it took me about 10-15 minutes or so, and I was able to generate this logo here. Just a sec. So here's the logo I ultimately generated. At higher, when you zoom out, it looks a little bit better. If you zoom in too close on things, it's a little rough, and I'm a designer. I think I need to make this a little bit more transparent on the edges. But still, I think it looks pretty good, and I was able to make a t-shirt out of this. Just dumped it on rush order tees, and boom, I think that looks pretty nice. It looks more like it could be a brewery. It looks a little bit more fashiony, or kind of like a cool shirt, in my opinion. You'll sort of find with your own logo or your own branding materials what it might work with better or not, and use that to figure out, hey, am I happy with this or not? If you want something to fit on a hot sauce bottle, it's got to be a little bit more circular and maybe have some font attached to it too. So I also want to create a video later on generating fonts. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'd love to see any designs that you come up with. For the coders out there, if I was trying to create, a website for this stuff, this is what I think I would do. I would generate the base image with AI, show what it looks like with some basic post-processing, automated, and let a designer, that could be me, take that base image, download it, process it with something like GIMP or Photoshop, and upload the final image. And then over time, you could learn how to train a model to do a better job at generating images. So hopefully you could improve AI post-processing over time by tracking what a designer did and using that with a good database, retraining. Anyways, again, thank you for watching. I hope you can use this to make your own logo. The photo editing isn't that bad. Just watch a few tutorials on how to use GIMP, and you can create your own thing in no time. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know things you want me to make, and happy to do so. Have a good one.